Okay, the meeting is now streaming on live on Facebook. I'll just go and check on my phone because I may be able to see some comments coming up there. And then, Kristin, we can get going and see what happens.
This is going
Let's have a look. There we go. So we'll click that on. I've just put a thing on that we're up in 5 minutes. I put that up 5 minutes ago just to say, beware everybody. How are you, my love? Anyway, you're looking good.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm good. I'm good. I feel things are really moving forward. I feel like there's been a lot that has just like sort of fell into place on the inside. So I feel much more centered sort of in everything I do. It's almost like I feel rather than me doing this thing and doing this thing and doing this thing, it's like I feel it's much more anchored in me in another way. So I feel much more embodied. Yeah.
And is it affecting the way that you dance? Seriously? Is it
Yes.
affect? It is.
Yes. It
How?
is.
How?
Great question. I love that.
Well, because it's mind body, isn't it? Mind body body mind. It's a combination approach really. How's it
Yes.
affecting your dancing more? This is it Brazilian stuff that you do? This Brazil.
Yes, it's Brazilian souk. It's ballroom is my background,
Yeah.
but now it's Brazilian souk that I do. So I had workshops this weekend. I feel that it's I'm more and more able to go into the surrender because there's a lot of surrender in Brazilian souk specifically. So it's like you're just like there's a lot of head movements. There's like really being present and really like you're meeting in breathing with your partner. You're just and then it starts flowing. So I'm getting more or becoming more and more able to really be in that and not be so much in my mind or like it has to be like this and like this and like this and all the rules. It's like I can lean on the structure in the dance and I understand like the structure and the basic look sort of foundation much more and it's like I have that sort of like my spine, right? And then I can lean into that and I can actually surrender and just go with the play of the dance. So I feel it's going both ways. The dancing more as I've been doing the last months has really been assisting me a lot personally because that makes me become more embodied and more present and just in contact with my deepest passion and also the other way around. So it's like it's both ways really.
I think it's marvelous. So it's almost like, isn't it, two souls merging,
Yes.
right, in surrender
Yes.
and movement.
Yes.
I know quite a bit about Brazilian stuff, really, and I used to do a lot of study in candomblé and the orishas, which is associated with the sacred feminine, and especially Mother Mary and stuff like that. So I've studied quite a bit about Brazilian sort of philosophy and also the roots as well, So there's African roots over to Brazil and stuff like that, There's
Exactly.
also a lot of Portuguese connection and stuff as well, So I sort of know somewhere along the line that I've studied this before and it's starting to come up. But I think if you get your head out of the way and just surrender, then the souls dance through the physical body, don't they? Really?
Exactly. Exactly. And it was very interesting also with you asking this question because one of the participants in the workshop that we were holding, she came to me after workshops and she asked me what I do besides teaching dance. And then, I was just like, answering just like, not much. And then she was like, yeah, but it has to be something about energy, right? Because you're so embodied and you're so like she started going there and I was like, how did you like it's incredible. Like that just like teaching Brazilian soak and just like, yes, we did a bit of breathing and those kind of things, but still like she totally caught the other side of everything I'm doing. So that also feels like, it's just merging because it's becoming more embodied. So it's really seeping out in everything I do.
I think it's because I've done a lot of dancing myself when I was younger, even now when I'm older,
Oh, I remember you
Oh,
dancing success.
yeah.
I have videos.
Yeah,
I
we've
love
got
that.
proof of that, haven't we, really? But,
Yes.
I
You
just,
were
because, I
river
mean,
dancing and everything.
yeah, well, I mean, in the drink, you see, when I drank, it disconnected me from my head, basically, and it disinhibited me, and I just used to be straight on the dance floor, right, and dancing and stuff. But it's almost like, as well, that when you remove your head, it's much easier then to become intimate, and I don't mean sexually intimate. I mean, that could be part of it at some point, but it really, what how I see it is the seven major chakras, right, lock onto one another. It's almost like a sequence starting off at the ground, and then the sacral comes in, then the solar plexus, and it's almost like boom, 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 boom. But I didn't realize that some of these were out of place energetically. I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but real
Yeah.
intimacy, real sacred union to me is when all the chakras are actually in harmony and coordinating with one another. That's what I think yin yang is, and I think the whole thing. I'm actually going to talk about this in a minute, but the theme that we're going to talk about, as we've discussed, is really about what's blocking us really from being totally authentic and energetically totally free. Because you can sort of get there by false means, and this is no judgment, because I've done a lot really, but you can get there by, drink, drugs, all sorts of different things. They can give you a taste or a flavour. But my feeling is now that I think the way the world is, we almost have to individually clean up our own act naturally and be guided from our true essential self as to how to unlock the stuff that's been lurking in our. I didn't know this is just coming out. This lurking in our unconscious, and I've called this "we're only as sick as our secrets." You
I
know,
love that. It's a perfect.
because most people, like myself, this is my personal experience, and I'm sure there's loads more grunge in there that needs to be cleaned, because I think it's an eternal cleansing process. But I think more and more people are being faced really with themselves in order to own up to the stuff that they're keeping hidden. You know what I mean? Because all the stuff that's being kept hidden, they may have forgotten about it, but it may be gurgling away in the background, causing all sorts of physical problems that they need to basically stop, sit with themselves, and just sink in and almost ask their intuition, why am I feeling emotionally disturbed here all the time? Why am I feeling pain in this particular part of my body? Please show me what I need to take action on in order to unlock this. And then, because of the way the world is and the great shift in consciousness that's happening, we're almost being forced to face ourselves.
Not even almost.
No, not even. No, you're right. Not even almost, but definitely, definitely. And I think there's people who've held themselves back, and been over polite and done nice things and run
No
round
idea
after
what you're.
run round after everybody else. I think that there's a tiger in the tank's coming out there now, and it's scaring the shit out of a lot of people who just aren't used to this behaviour. So as that individual changes and starts to express themselves fully, those recipients of this new energy will need to look at themselves as well. Because I don't think it's about teaching anybody any lessons. I think it's about our own behaviour or feelings showing us what needs to be released. Christ, I feel like a bleeding preacher tonight. So
I love it. I love it. I feel I really resonate with what you say, and it's also, I've always been that, always been. I used to be
yeah,
that good girl, polite, people pleasing, all of that crap. And I really always tried to be who I thought people expected me to be, because we are, and I mean, in our society in general, but especially growing up as a girl, you learn that you need to be polite all the time. So you actually learn, even though you are also learning to hold boundaries in certain settings, you are really also often learning that you are not allowed to have boundaries if that means that you're not polite. So it's always being like, okay, how am I expected to behave in this situation? How is, like, it's always that. So it's trying to be perfect, or trying to be, this picture of how, a good sweet girl should behave. But now what I focus on when I, go through my days, and, all of these ups and downs that are constant, I try to focus on integrity
yeah,
rather than trying to be perfect, because I'm always going to do some things really awesome, and I'm going to have breakthroughs, and I'm going to have breakdowns, and I'm going to completely fuck up in some things. And as long as I'm in integrity and I own up to what I do, whether it's good or it's bad, no matter, like, if I'm just, okay, I didn't really know how to do it, I tried, I failed, okay, I keep going, or also owning up to the things that I do that are really good. I'm actually like, okay, I did this well. Like,
Yeah.
it's that integrity, and that is so empowering, rather than trying to do what is right or perfect, or that sort of an image, because that's only a mask. It's only a facade.
I agree, and I think look at the other side of the coin, when Miss and Mr. Prim and Proper start to express themselves, because that's an inauthentic way to live, isn't it, really? Because under the surface we build up and repress all sorts of resentments and frustration and anger, and if we don't fire it at anybody else, it just eats away at us as well, because of our self-talk, self-dialogue. I'm useless at this, I credit. So there's lots of people, and it eats away at us. But now people are being forced now, because to me this is about restoration of balance. It's not about being good or bad. It's about becoming authentic, honest with ourselves. Sometimes to get honest with yourself, though, you've got to work with somebody who's a bit further down the path, who can see it clearly, and somebody's not really afraid to just be honest about what they see about you. And I've had to go through that process. Because my mind, or my ego mind, or the shadow self, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, right, it's always trying to hide away from facing the truth of itself.
Yeah.
And lots of people don't know that, because their head will be telling them lies all the time, like mine was. But this is quite deep conversation. But I've got a presentation here, and if it's all right by you, I'll put it up and I'll whiz through it, because it'll be a reiteration of what we've already talked about. Just for people who are new to this, Kristin and I met for the first time in person. We met in Houston, and we both got a feeling that we needed to work together in some way, and we did our first public light language communication together, right? And it was the first time, really, I think, that I'd ever gone sort of public with this, but when I'm by myself, it's coming out all the time, and that's been all my life, really. But we had that conversation, and something changed in me dramatically, and it just made me cry my eyes out, and it was almost like a very, very deep soul connection, and I think that's the way it works, is that there's this invisible guiding force, or forces, that are helping us now to reintegrate, to use that word, integrity, and so I've tried to knock this presentation up. But just to say, I didn't know, Kristin, that I'd hidden so much stuff away because it was too painful to face, And it was not only what others had done to me, or let me qualify that, what I'd allowed other people to do to me.
Yes.
Right, what I'd allowed, because I am personally responsible, even from the earliest age, of developing coping strategies that protect me. And really, I think that they're all, those ties that bind us, those emotional bonds, are being released now, as long as we can own up, And I don't mean getting on the show and saying, I did this and I did that, and I did this, that and the other. It's talking it through with another human person to say, this is what I've discovered that I was keeping back in me. I forgot all about this. But here's the other thing as well, though. Not only have we got that, because encoded in our DNA is also the crystallized behavior of our ancestors as well.
Yes.
So once we get rid of our own personal shit, right, we've got to almost unlock their inappropriate behavior. And now when I say inappropriate behavior, I don't mean that it was inappropriate then, because it may be a defense mechanism then. But in this day and age, in this contemporary time, it's inappropriate if we're repressing anything and we're not being true to ourselves.
Yes.
So the portal above the Greek Delphi oracle, know thyself, it says, know thyself. See, lecturing mode, can't help it.
Keep going.
By all means, jump in, and
I will.
let me share this screen now. There we are, share. There it is. Let me just do that. Go to the participants can now see your application. Jolly good. You are only as sick as your secrets. And the stuff we talk about it's not meant to be hurtful. It's what I feel is truthful. If for any reason you get an emotional reaction and your gut grips and you feel uncomfortable. My understanding through my experiences, that's something that you're hanging on to, trying to defend you against the truth. so, so
Yeah.
you know, that's
Which
what we've
often
called
has
it.
to do with fear or
Yeah,
self-judgment.
fear and pride and prejudice. There's like two. There's like the bully type or pushy one, the assertive one, which can be very prideful, right? And there can be the little wallflower one that wants to hide all the time. So fear and pride, I think they're the two obstructions. So with the Prof from Oslo and Dr. Joe, yeah, episode 8. And we're getting then, the crux of this is, if you like, at the human level, is our encoded DNA. And as you know, for a long, long time, until recently, scientists, those the medical scientists were saying that only 5% of the DNA is worth anything. The rest is junk DNA. Can I say, as a medical scientist myself, that's a load of old tripe, because nature, Mother Nature, doesn't do anything for no reason, right?
Exactly,
You know,
exactly.
and so if you're into spiritual things, it would be maybe 12 strands of DNA are coming back online now, not necessarily in physically, but in the invisible realms or the morphogenetic fields. But we're starting off with, how can we clean up our own act? Well, we're being forced to now, because the I Am, which, if you like, is Prime Creator, the Great Central Sun, the Holy Spirit or God or whatever you want to call this thing here, he's having a move round of the furniture, right? And he's sending more information through the stars and the alignment of stars. And if you're into alignment of stars, really, and the effect that stars have on us, that will be, you could look at something called true sidereal astrology. It's different from the normal astrology. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but that's something to have a look at, because there are 13 signs associated with that one there. And I think that the 13th sign is your heart of hearts, through which this great cleansing process happens. So then the stars, then we get into solar systems. Here's our beautiful sun. The sun's being extra activated now from the great central sun, which is sending big solar flares, which are impacting upon the vibration of our Mother Earth. So she's also evolving as well. And the vibrations will impact upon our brain waves. So this is all happening in the invisible realms. And 1% of the stuff that's going on is happening in this 3D physical world. There's 99% of stuff moving in the cosmos that's impacting upon us. And in
Which
the
is a
end,
very good indicator to let go of control, because we can't control it anyways.
that's right. And if you're feeling emotionally disturbed, it means, to me at least, and I could be wrong, or it could be need refining or pointing in the right direction. I don't care, as long as I get the truth, really. I'm not bothered. But it's really about surrendering to this process, right? And it's not about having to think more or get your head around more stuff. It's basically about letting go of everything that you've ever believed up to this point now, because I don't feel that anybody really knows what the hell's coming up. We've just got to play it by ear from one moment to the next. So this is about perfect balance and the sacred mystical union. So, we've recently had an alignment of the planets, April the 8th, but there's also a comet coming in. This is called the Devil's Comet. That came closest to the sun, which has apparently impacted upon the vibrations as well, which has been quite strong. And I don't know about you, Kristin, but over the last week or two, I've really felt the changes coming in. It's been quite challenging, but I think my measure is that if I focus on feelings first and my emotional state, that will guide me more clearly than me head. Because me head, which is the ego, wants to duck and dive and dodge and weave and do I have to. Well, the heart says, you do, son. Just take the action and it will reset the balance.
Yes,
So
and
that, yeah.
to just be in acceptance of it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, right now I feel like crap, or now like everything is amazing. Probably maybe it shifts in 2 hours. Like it's going to be ups and downs, and being acceptance of that rather than going into resistance is really helpful, because once we're in a resistance and like, no, but it should be different, this what is happening is actually wrong, or there must be something wrong with me, then we're just caught up in the fight, and then it will just, instead of just moving through and then you can keep going, you will just keep in that fight, and just coming back to that again and again is helping me a lot.
I think the measure is, if you're being honest and you're expressing these things and sharing it honestly with somebody that you can trust, the measure is the closer you get to more and more peace of mind. Because in the end, this is about peace of mind and basically pure stillness. Some people call it bliss consciousness. Some people just call it calm and collected. You know, that to me is the end result. That's where the treasure is, because that's where the truth, beauty and goodness, right, that's where they are. And we're being guided. We don't have to, I don't feel that we have to think our way into it. I think as you surrender, it grows within you, and you want to call that maybe soul embodiment. But as the soul sort of infiltrates our physical cells and kicks out the grunge from eons of time, I think we get more expanded consciousness, more clarity of mind, and more peace of mind as well. And we don't have to pretend to be compassionate or empathetic. I think these things will naturally come if we can just get our head out of the way.
Yes.
So that's what's happening. There's
Like
a great
pure,
big...
pure beingness.
Sorry?
It's like pure beingness.
Absolutely pure being, and not this is the way that it should be, because most people say this is the way it should be. Well, in a way, that's a judgment against some sort of a standard. I think that the only standard I've got now is by the way that I feel most of the time now. You know, and different people have different jobs as well. Nobody's special, but it is about specializing. And I think that each soul, right, see, I'm on one tonight, this is good. I'm listening to myself here thinking that was good, Jim. Right. So each soul is not special, it's specialized, it's a specialist in particular skill set that's aligned with the particular soul's vibration. So if you've been acting in a way that everybody else told you to act, you've been away from who you truly are. And this is what I'm going to talk about in a minute, is how we've been conditioned and programmed into being something who we're not really. And that's called pretentiousness.
Yes, yes.
It's good, this, isn't it? I'm quite enjoying this.
We're all unique, we're all different, we all have different talents, and we're here to actually harness that and really be who we came here to be, who we intended to be. Because then the whole puzzle will actually create a beautiful picture, because we're not trying to be another piece in the puzzle. That doesn't make us any more special than others, but we are unique.
And if we're born with it, maybe he's born with it, you know, maybe it's Maybelline. But, you know, if we're born with it, right, it's effortless, isn't it? You don't have to practice anything. It's just natural. So this is about natural flow, natural sort of expansion and blah-de-blah-de-blah. So in this great shift of planets and consciousness, we're being bombarded, and some people have called this the truth vibration. And I think it sort of is, although it's not a vibration really. But it's a bit like this as well. You know, this is a Big Bang, but a smaller version of the Big Bang. And here, you know, we've got the crystallized behavior of the past at the tail coming through. So it's almost like a time thing as well. And at the tail here, it's taken us back to the cosmos and the beginning of time. But there is no time. Oh, don't even go there, Joe. So this is the male sort of attributes, if you like, and this is the egg which is activated, and that side of things then joined together, the body is formed, and then at a certain point when the body's formed, you know, with the characteristics of mum and dad, right, then the soul itself, or the mind, starts to develop in the individual then, although it will be influenced by past behavior, right, in the Akashic records. But that's a story for another day really. But it doesn't matter, because the past works through the present moment as everything else does. So the way that we feel may be being determined by past behavior from thousands of years ago, but it doesn't matter, because if we get good at tuning into what action do I need to take, that's how we reset, if you like, the sins of the fathers and the fathers' fathers. And I only say that because that was written in some sort of biblical piece. But a sin to me means a misalignment. It just literally, from the Greek apparently, it means to miss the mark. So this is about identifying where we're out of alignment with our soul or our authenticity, and it's taking an action to put us closer to the truth of who we are. Or something like that. So there's the codes. 001011. That's bringing in information in its various forms. 00101110. That's a famous one. And it's about that. This is the soul. This is the soul with its 12 dimensions of possibilities and potentials. This is the mystical tree of life, which has now come away from the 10 sphere tree of life, and we're working now from the vibrations of the 12 dimensions now. And at this point here, at the crossroads, that's the 13th dimension and the portal to the cosmos, as I see it. But that's just the way I explain things. So how can we help, first of all, ourselves to listen to that intuitive, innate intelligence which resides at that portal there? We can do that through mindfulness, through meditation, through breathing in a certain way, finding the bit that helps you to surrender and listen to the silent voice that's trying to guide us, really. And without being too technical, it looks like that, these outside dimensions are filling us with information from different areas, and it's how can we learn to listen to that. So that's the meridians, the nadis, the chakras. And really it's about this, it's the 12 Russian dolls. But what happens is, for the eternal progress of the soul, this doll here might be over here, and that one there could be over there, you see. So there's a misalignment. These are sinning dolls, these are sinners, So some of them might be in the right place. But in order for the soul to develop, and also for the soul to help the human to experience it as well, then we work together with these things. So these need to be shuffled around by us taking new actions. And really, how does that work then? Well, those invisible dimensions, if you like, almost subtle energies, mostly magnetic energies, what they tend to do is they will influence the electrical system of our body. So all this movement that's going on in the cosmos, or if you like, the morphic or morphogenic fields, will influence us, and it will influence the way that we think as well. And our thinking will influence the way that we behave or the way that we act. But what we're really looking for is, how can we get to a balance from these different dimensions? And there's the overlay. That's what's going on in the invisible dimensions. This is where all the different forces are. But for a long time, these forces are actually in antagonism with they're fighting with each other all the time. So how can we get to balance? And that's by focusing on feelings first. Rather than looking outwards for answers, is to sit quietly, tune into the deepest part of who we are, and almost say, develop a connection with our intuition, and basically just say, I'm not quite sure what to do here. Can you please give me a clue? So we're asking for some intuitive prompt or some inspiration that will give us a clue. And when you're on the right path, as most of us know, you'll get all sorts of coincidences and synchronicities. Someone will, the answer might be turn left, and someone will say, I don't know why, but you should turn left at the bottom there. It's very and then you'll go and meet somebody else who says, why don't you turn left? So you get on all these clues. This how it works for me anyway. You get all these clues all day long. The idea is
amazing feeling when it's just like flowing like that. It's just like alignment. It's the best feeling.
And it is, isn't it? It's about flow, and it's about flow at very, very refined dimensions. And I think the Big Bang, which isn't really a Big Bang, but it's like the dropping of the stone. And initially, there's very high frequency vibrations, and the further it gets away from source, the greater the wavelength. But all those different wavelengths, right? Those 12 different wavelengths, all have a specific aspect of consciousness and a skill that's associated with it. And some people have likened this to Christ and the 12 disciples, or there's so many different comparisons with the 12, but not forgetting Ophiuchus at 13. So there we are, really. We can come in, the soul may come in And at a previous incarnation, it might have already sorted these out and be balanced. But in order to find pure freedom and peace of mind, we need to work with all these different areas here. And in the end, when all those have achieved pure balance, that's when we're totally and utterly free, you know. And that's what I feel that we're all working towards. And I think as long as we're all incarnated in the human, there's always work to be done, you know. People say we need to destroy the ego. I don't talk like that, because I think anything to do with destruction, right, is probably the wrong path. But this is just my view. I think that we need to maybe break the bonds of the ego defensiveness, really. The you know, and that's what we're doing. We're breaking the bonds, right, that are not in alignment or causing misalignment. So what goes on beneath the surface? This is the important bit, really. Most of us think we've got it covered here because this is our conscious mind, our working mind. This is the bit that's been conditioned to say, work like this, be polite, don't say this, don't say that, you know. But the other thing is, below the level of consciousness, in the bottom of the iceberg, there's 4/5 of information being processed. And it's really, this is where all the programs are. This is where the conditions are. This is where our past patterns are. It's in here that we need to find out. And what's actually happening now is, how do we do it? Well, we can sort of circumvent this. We can go straight back to this here, because this is what's causing the bubbling now. All the stuff that we buried down now is being heated up now. So there's these bubbles that are coming to the surface. So we've almost got to work from there to there in order to overcome or rewrite the script from the past.
Which comes in being present, because when you're present, you will realize what's coming up in the moment. And that's
Exactly.
the best thing to release or take action on or move on.
And how do you know that you're in the
Looking for
present?
it,
Because
will
by
just-
the way that you feel. So if you feel cool, calm and collected, then you can ask the question, please show me what to do. Other than that, it's a reaction based upon pattern matching from the past. Right? So if you're feeling emotionally disturbed, the idea would be, because generally speaking, we're sort of automatons and we're just acting from what we've always done. And that's probably why the world's in the state that it's in now, because it needs to change, really. So that's that. And this is about personal sovereignty to me. It's about gaining self-mastery or self-mistresy, to just bring that side of things in. And here are 12 aspects of what it's like to be honest, authentic. And there's no judgment here, but I thought that I was I was like Saint Joseph. You know, I used to help loads of people and they'd ask me to do them a favour. Oh, I'll do that, you know. But part of me was always thinking, I want some recognition for this now. Right. I want them to say, that's very good, Dad, and here's a few shillings for you, and thank you for helping me. So really, most of my saintlyhood was conditional. But I thought it was being a saint. Honestly, this is true. And I've realised over the years that I was completely pretentious. I was lying to myself. I was lying to everybody else. And I welcome to find areas now where I'm out of alignment with my true self now, you know. And I don't mind anymore, because you get to a point where I think, well, I've got to a point now where if I can find out through personal experience where I'm blocked, why I'm feeling diseased, ill at ease or uncomfortable, then I know that if I take the action to put it right, then I'm on the right path, yes. You know. So here's some of the attributes, and I've got about 5 minutes to go, but just to say, personal sovereignty. Sovereignty, if you're a sovereign, you're a king or a queen, aren't you? So it's about royalty, really. And this is being sort of restored to our royal place, really, in a way. It's the inherent right, so it's within, to go and live, let me just move this here. I can't quite see what's being said here. Just let me put this somewhere. I'll stick that over there for that. It's the right, it's the inherent natural right of divine right, if you like, of an individual to govern themselves autonomously. It refers to personal freedom, self-determination over one's own life and choices. It includes making decisions without undue influence or coercion from others. Now, if we allow ourselves to be coerced into making decisions that we don't really want to do, that's not their problem. It's a test to say, hang on, fuck off. Excuse me. I do not consent. I meant to say I do not consent there. That other one just popped out. But sometimes you have to use that one, right? But it's to say, no thanks, I don't want to. Well, you must. It's the... Anyway, people can understand what I'm saying from there. But if you keep saying yes when you really mean no, it's not them that needs to change. It's you. And in you changing, it'll change them as well. Or they'll have to scoot off and go somewhere else.
And if it's difficult to change that one, then ask yourself, why do I want to say yes? Why can't I say no? And be really honest with yourself, because there are your beliefs. There are the traumas that are holding you back. There is, you find everything there. Just ask yourself those questions rather than going into the judgment. Oh, no, but I just can't. I'm just this way. Or no, there's something wrong with me because I can't say no. There is a reason why, and you can change that. You have to ask the right questions to get the awareness of why you're doing it.
You do, and the thing that you're asking, that deep core self, if you're frightened, you can say, please give me the courage, because the heart is the seat of courage as well. So if you know that you need to change, but you're still apprehensive about it, say, please give me the courage to say and take the right actions, and then practice it.
You can ask the fear even, because in that moment you are so in contact with that fear. So ask the fear, why don't you want to say no? And the fear will tell you. Just let it speak.
And this is this development, isn't it?
It's not it's the fear.
This is developing conscious contact with the deepest part of our authentic soul self, really. So this is a good one. It encompasses the responsibility to take ownership of our actions and the consequences of those actions. 100% responsibility, even before we came here, right? Personal sovereignty involves setting and maintaining boundaries that reflect one's core values and beliefs. So this is about core as well. Core means heart. And it emphasises the importance of self-awareness. And I thought I was right tuned in and very aware. And looking back, I didn't have a clue. Right, still haven't got a clue about loads of things, you know what I mean? There's just too much. But I thought I was right, switched on and streetwise, And about myself, no idea whatsoever. Self-respect and self-reliance. That doesn't mean to say that you can't work with others, but you can make your own choice in the end. And here's the last 5 now. Personal sovereignty is about honouring and respecting one's own needs, desires and goals. They'll be different from individual souls. That's what makes us different. We're all unique. Not special, but specialised. It involves assisting individuals to self-empowerment. So we don't empower anybody else, but we can facilitate an environment where they take the action to empower themselves. I hear lots of documents in the health services that we can empower others. No, we can't. Right? That's just my interpretation.
Yes.
To lead authentic lives. Personal sovereignty relates to psychological independence and emotional intelligence, and includes the right to privacy, personal space and personal agency. And again, it's about living in alignment with one's authentic self. How do you know that you're not living in alignment? You know at heart. You know really, right? But it's accepting.
You will realize.
Yeah, it's admitting, if you go on that one, I can sort of see that now. That's the admittance. Acceptance means when you want to change it, when you really do want to change it. And finally, these things can be seen as fundamental aspects of individual dignity and human rights. And it's so, part of this as well was, are you preaching caution while practicing evasion? And I did that for a long time. I won't do that just yet, let's just wait a bit and see if things change. About 10 years later. 10 years later, right, when you should have got out after 6 months, you're still in it 10 years later. That's because if you're feeling ill at ease or diseased, generally speaking, at the deepest level, it's because you're not living to your truth. and more people are getting more honest with these things now.
Yes, and we will also see in the collective, I think, well, that's at least what I've been receiving in channelings, a rise on health challenges. And that is because all of this energy coming in, because things are speeding up. If we're holding on to anything that is not in alignment, it will much more rapidly cause health challenges because it happens so fast now.
Yeah, and we were talking before, it's almost like instant karma, where as the truth vibration gets closer, it's like a big mirror. So what you're giving out, even though you mightn't be aware of it, it's to become more aware that your midbrain really and the patterns keep doing the same thing. So the way we change is by taking different actions. So in the end, it's about that sacred union. I'll just come out of there now and stop the share. So I know I've rattled through that there because we could take each individual part of that and expand it for another hour. There's so much stuff really. But just to sort of finish, what I've got to say is I didn't know, and I was always emotionally disturbed, pointing the finger, basically saying if the world out there was different, I would feel better, right? And nothing ever changed, right? People wouldn't do what I wanted them to do. They wouldn't behave like I told them. And I tried to force people to change because it was making me feel uncomfortable. That's called narcissism, right? I can see it as clear as anything now. But I realise now that in order to fit in contemporarily and to fit with my soul's purpose, I might need to change.
Yes.
So if I'm pointing the finger like that and trying to get external stuff to change, I think I'm missing the point now. So there's that little trigger finger, So there you go, Kristin. That's what I think. We're processing information below the level of our consciousness that we're not aware of. But if people are feeling emotionally disturbed, or they're getting more angry and more frustrated and all that, if that's all coming up, that's a really positive sign if they know what to do next.
Yes, it's about having the tools. And if you don't have the tools, search for them. Ask someone. Go get some guidance that resonates, and then you take that information in, you sit with it. Does it resonate? Does it not? You use it or you throw it out. It really is. And it's the same with the sovereignty, whether it is on the self-development or whether it is on how we relate to other people. It's the same thing in the energetic spheres, whether it's an entity or a thought form or whatever it is. It's about knowing that I'm actually a sovereign being. No one can really control me or do things to me. There is a reason why something is either hooking in or bumping into me. There is a resonance. It's all energetic. It's the same thing. So if you could also understand what's happening on a very physical level, it's the same thing really of how it works in the energetic realms. It's just the same. So coming back, being embodied, choosing to be here, right? When I was going through my health challenges, as you know, I was ill for 9 years, and it was a lot of, I don't know even how many rounds I had to go with coming back to me and realizing more and more of who I was. And I was both physically very, very weak, of course, at the point when I got ill, but I also, being as open as I am and being a channeler, which I completely resisted, and I didn't want to be like that. And I got more and more physically ill from all energetic stuff that happened as well. I was at a point where I was picked up by an ambulance just from passing a churchyard because it was too much. I just passed out. And I didn't understand that because I didn't want to deal with that. I was actually running out of my own field. I didn't want to be. I was just trying to escape, which left my field completely open and vulnerable for it. But it's not a problem now because now I am here. It's a part of who I am, and I own it. And now I love being like that, of course. But it's just like filling your own field. Both when you're meeting other people, when you're meeting an energy, when you are meeting yourself. It just is. Be embodied, be present, be humble.
I agree. Yeah, being honest with yourself is and I think after a while, when you've worked with other people who've maybe been a bit further along the path, you start to get more honest with yourself and can become much more not critical in a sort of negative sense, but no, that doesn't feel right to me. And I make a little note, if it's coming along, I'll make a little note. And at the end of the day, I do a little inventory of the day to say, no, you need to have a look at that and whatever. But what I've learned is your soul, which is basically guiding us, our intuition. Some people think it's like a guardian angel, which is great. It will give you the actions, because the soul will attract to itself what it needs to learn next. It will set the whole scene for the day. But it's this is what I've learned, and it could be right, could be wrong, but this is how I'm going with it. It will show you the actions to take on that day. You might think you need to do something else, but because it can see further than you and it knows a bit more than you do, right, it will take you to take a certain action, which almost like has a cross-training effect. And when you take this action over here, all the stuff over there realigns as well at the same time. So it's a sequential unlocking of energetic structures. That's how I see that there, really.
I love that becoming self-aware is cross-training. I love that.
Yeah. So it's the mind-body-mind connection. And what they show me all the time is, the infinity symbol. It's the number 8, but there's information going back like that all the time. But it's not just going back on revolution, it's actually spiral. It's a spiral, so it's almost like climbing up the tree of life, back down again to the bottom, back down again. So it's a ascension, if you like, but sometimes you need descension in order to get to ascension, so
yes. And I think the more we practice this, at least that's my experience, the more I practice it, the more of what is not really me, how I realize it's not me, and how I let go, the more I get like a certain feeling in the body that I feel of a guidance as to what to do or not. And it's not out of the mind. And I have a very active mind. I am very prone to overthinking. But the feeling I have in the body, if I have that, like, okay, when something feels aligned, it's a very different place in my body, and it feels like, no matter if I'm thinking that, but is that really like a smart way to do it? Maybe I should do it in a different way or another day or whatever. And it's still, if I'm questioning that, and I will get that response in my body, which is even stronger. And then I'm like, okay, I go with it. And normally that tends to turn out really well.
No, I agree. I do the same thing. I feel my way through it now. And do I get it right all the time? Not at all. But, I'm willing to have a go. If I make a mistake and I unwittingly harm somebody else or hurt them, I'll just say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake there. I hope you'll forgive me. And if they don't forgive me, it doesn't matter, so I don't care. Right.
Yeah, and also I have a couple of really good friends that knows me, like, they see completely through me, and that feels so freeing. So if I'm like caught up in my own stuff, like completely in my own loop, I can call and I can say, hey, I have this situation, this and this is happening, I'm thinking this and this and this and this and this and this, and I'm probably this and this and this, and then I'm feeling all of this stuff. Is this right, or am I, like, what's really happening? And they can tell me, like, I skip all of that crap. You know what you want, like this, you just said it really in the beginning. Or they will say, like, hey, now you're caught up in your same old pattern, just skip out of it, just drop it. Then I would be like, oh, it's actually that easy. Right. And that's the best feeling, when someone can see right through you.
Something, before we have a little conversation in an otherworldly way, something I was brought up with, gentle Jesus, meek and mild, you see. So I've always had this ideal image of Jesus, right? And I don't even know whether Jesus existed or whatever. I don't even get to that anymore. If he did, he was a good fella. But the principles are there underneath it. But I also know that he went into the temple and he kicked all them thieves and beggars and everything out to say, get out of here, So there was another side to him, and I think that's again something I had to let go of. Surely this isn't the way that Jesus would have acted. And I go, well, how do you know, right? So I've gone into the feeling of it, really. So sometimes I think, and that's what seems to be happening now, is more and more people are becoming more energized, right? But I think that's a transformative energy now, to be creative rather than to be reactive, really.
Yes.
Right, I'll shut
I
it
think
now. And
also like that, showing ourselves that grace and that acceptance, and you know, being aware when we start criticizing and judging ourselves, stepping back from that, coming back to the acceptance, back to the grace, the more we can do that for other people as well, and actually accept other people for being different. That is tolerance. That is, other people will have different thought patterns. They will do things differently. They will have different talents. They will see things from a different perspective, and that is okay.
yeah.
As long as you can accept yourself, you will also much more be able to accept others, and there will be less judgment and all of those ripples in the world.
I used to ask people, how do you see this? And when they said, my reply would be, I'm not having that. Behaviours, what a load of old crap, because I thought I knew what was going on, and I just look back and laugh because it's hilarious to me now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can see that only for example, when I'm in channeling, right? And I can channel, if there's different beings. Sometimes I can go be in a channeling. There's three different energies that comes in, and they talk about the same topic, but you can see how different. Like when I'm re-listening to the recording on that channeling, I'm like, yeah, but it's really it's so different the way they see it, but it all makes sense. It's
yeah.
just really different, facets of the same thing, but it looks very different from those different perspectives. And it's the same from different human points of view.
I always say this, I'll shut up now, but I spent 4 hours on Sunday walking around Chester, which is a big city by us, very Roman Chester and stuff. And I got the messages, you need to go and do some grid work there. Now, I never know whether I'm, so I have to say, is that true? And I get this, and everything's set up to say, yeah, you're going to Chester, And somebody provided me with a grid map and stuff like this. And I went along and I could feel this. Every time I stopped at a certain point, I almost felt this. Right. It's almost, someone likened it to acupuncture of the globe. It was almost like a stake going in at certain points and stuff. So this is where I'm up to now. A few years ago, I used to think this was all nonsense, but it's become part of who I am and part of my life, as is light language now. So a mae gwrdd iesu ber a tu chwrdd hi siam drachaf no hwtse. Lago rum dia se mor yan de kod shem wai. Wai was in die rei. Hortak ne hurret de chebe.
Here ui karat ai karun ler orkle moer tinyantar wakler urut lerket erkt erakut ai kana.
A mae suri tegen me oren tegen ne. Hara zun de rei cham olle sem de rei. Hara meert hoograt mag grot mag de.
Harkut hiem alartunta churuk ileratu ala alartu malarta aikorata luru ncherakat erut alert niaka ha warit churleren niaka eka.
Maar ja, to kosi. Ga het doen hier heb echt een oortjes. Kan zat de oren net tegen at odren. Hier surm artush magota.
Hoin taikwa.
Ik parat net toe.
Hoin ka antaika.
Ja, sorry oren dicht te herte.
Hier uika.
Moet ik dat zo te revoie, kan niet zijn. Chansora niet te horen natte.
Aik. Ari kuin karu lero ka erut nyara ni ko ni aka.
Ari sorry tegen. Hier am no tesh echne ela toet me hat en psot ne.
Te erotun pa aler churut ilo am ar udnera aleret ayaka warinti ent enka.
A me sout ormetesh. Haradon je ram hoog ne edre.
Tiang quainte and akai, quaraca int or churu lera aika, me oka inco da let churu, carquil, carquia, corilleria.
Bayakuna Mayo, Haliakuda Basanyu, Mulakna Kubara, Hala Yona Bansud Nebe, Walakna Kazotjewa. Yola Mayola, Haliakosa Bayak Nula Babza, Lulam Yaktu Kabatna Sura Jotaba.
Lirum ko ay lar ay to anta lar ko ko wari may aro ta ay lar an ala churoy ka ta ay ko ark to u ka ara to ay ka ay ka turo chlar ko nya ka anta u pa aro to alar chela ro an aro to alar ko ta ay ka churo lir ko an ka anta
Bayakulu Sabnika, Hola Yagano Karamale Code Santikne, Hula Yukula Matasad Yaba, Wallet to Sapne.
para ko ya ta churo rin ta alar an pa wari to alar churo ka ta pa ay to ara ta anta awar to alar ta anta war churo rin ata ay ta ka lar ta ay ka churo ka
Alekajo,
Ent ailer tu an
Bala Suru Yamata Kolosamaki.
tu anka ent a enke. Ma ta alero tu an tu ka alero amma wan ta wan ko han ta chu kler ko amma wa. Tu are chu ler nek. Ko ent ai ko a chere ni. Heller ko ni ta ailer chu ha. Leret ailer tu.
And you saw the called me it issue on the course him LT. Me ja to shoot me could have some tisham an that och na harbe. Lay up the shoot near a bachs no horte. Niers et me hort ma het took some te gach nu.
Wa retenta. Wa chere runt kur li amma ai und tu kur kinnika ko arketi. Rumia kada renta kur renta arjelena.
Am je so tulu. Er hebt dit je sem te gaan anter. Sap and oot met oot.
Eka ai teka.
I say.
That was intense.
It was. I get the same beauty. I call this Beauty and the Beast as well. I think that deep energy that comes in, sometimes called the rock energy, rock ET, or like a dragon serpent type thing. It's there to shake the foundations, really, because there's such a lot of stuff that's accumulated in the foundations that I think it's a vibrational energy which is not meant to be frightening. It's almost like a sledgehammer, really. And then as the other energy brings that up, it's to be dealt with, really. So I think more and more people will get in touch with much deeper, stronger, straightforward, sort of grounded energy. That's what I feel on that one. Could be right, could be wrong, I don't know. But that's what it feels like in me.
Yes, it's really like that. That sounds so really emanating, like no bullshit. This is just like truth. It just is. Just
I think you're right, and you don't need to sort of demonstrate this. I feel I don't need to demonstrate it. It's almost like, people don't mess with me anymore. Before I was taken for a sucker, really, because I was radiating that use me energy, that type of thing. But I think that's almost like being kicked out now, as if to say, "Oh fucking hell, I don't think I'll mess with him. I don't know what it is, but I don't." And I think that's all part of the process that we're all being asked to go towards then, because that's, I think, the authenticity of it all, really.
exactly. The more honest you are with yourself, the more easy it is to stay in that, because the integrity is above everything else, and so that's what would you call that in English? If there's any Norwegians out there, what I want to say is rettesnor. It's like basically like the line you're walking. It's your path. It's your, like it's your GPS, like that needle on the GPS.
There have been this week as well more dialects, more tones and everything coming in really, really quickly now. Some really quite high-powered one, which when I do them, it gives me a headache, It's almost like there's a drill inside trying to break out, really. I get that one. So
that for 3 days now.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Right. So all part. It's a bit like, isn't it, as the soul sort of gets closer and we try and get out of the way. It's almost like from the inside, it's kicking shit out of the way, right, and then unplugging from the inside, really. That's how I feel,
Yeah, it's almost for me like it feels like there's like sometimes I can feel the actual energy coming in, and then it's like I can feel it. I mean, obviously not all the time, but sometimes I can feel where in my body it hits, and it's almost like something is turning on, like as if we would like use a picture of it, like one cell just like, okay, this energy is hitting this cell. This cell is just like turning on, and everything that is some sort of old crap held in that cell is just like being released, and then that energy is really like just shining out again and emanating out. And with all of that, it's just my job then to try not to attach to all that old crap that is being released, but actually see that light that is emerging, and just keep breathing with that and let the other stuff pass. Sometimes I manage, sometimes I don't.
Yeah, same here. And I'm not bothered about that now. I'm not trying to do my best. Every single day, my intention when I wake up in the morning is just help me to do the right thing. And I just don't, and I just go with it. So I'm always doing my best.
Yes.
Other people think I could probably do better, but I tend to disregard them now. I have a special sign that was given to me from Sirius C. It goes like this. Oh, that one. I use that one a lot as well. Right. It's like a finger pointing to the moon.
Oh, yeah. Well, I could sometimes give a finger to the moon as well. But...
Yeah. So there we are, darling. That's it's good. This I'm enjoying these. It helps me a lot as well. I know that I don't know everything. That's fine. I used to think that I did. I do look back, at my old self, and I just laugh sometimes at the situations I got myself into,
Yeah.
Always blaming, of course, as look what you've done to me, but people said, no, hang on a second, You chose it, right?
I think it's much more exciting that I actually don't know everything because that means that there's still so much to uncover. And I have a lot of curiosity, and I also have like a constant need and desire to just learn more and more and more, and knowing that I don't know everything and that I there's still more to understand. That is sort of like a driving force in me as well. And also, like, for example, if I'm having like a session with a client, I because when I connect in and I get guidance, it can go like a completely different way than my human would think if I'm
Yeah.
just like sitting in front of that person. And that also is really fascinating because I am learning from it because it gives me, examples and perspectives of things that are just like, oh my God, it can be like that. So it's whether it's in me or in another person, I just think it shows how much potential and possibility it is that there's actually a lot I don't know. And I'm
Yeah.
grateful for everything I learn in every moment. But yeah, it's just leaning. Well, just sounds like it's super easy, but it's practicing coming back to leaning back into that trust,
Yeah. Yeah.
really.
And if life wasn't full of challenges, it would be boring, wouldn't it? Really, you know.
Yeah, it just that sometimes those challenging challenges tends to come, in a bunch with other challenges, and it would be nice sometimes if you could have like little by little, but
Yeah.
it is what it is, right?
It is. Right, my love. Well, thank you so much. It's so lovely to see you, and
You too, really.
we'll carry on until we stop carrying on, shall we? And
We will.
yeah, and if anybody wants, by the way, and what I'll do is I'll send you the thing, and you can, if you want to, you can put it up on your YouTube channel.
Super.
And if anybody wants us to do anything else or look at something, just bung something in the comments, and if it fits in and feels right, then we'll try and do something about that then. Or
Yes,
or any sort of constructive criticism, I don't mind. If people want to say, maybe you could do that a bit more or whatever, I don't mind. All I'm trying to do is pass this message on more efficiently and effectively. And what's the message is? The message is simple to me: is what you're looking for is in there.
yeah.
End of story. So improve your communication with that, and then follow the guidance that you're given, even though your head might be screaming, I'm not doing that. Just give it a bash, and then all sorts of excitement and enthusiasm will come through, I
Yes.
think.
Beautiful, beautiful. Love it.
All right, my love. So thanks very much. And if there's anything you want, give us a shout. And lovely to see you. And I'll meet you again further down the road.
Yes. Looking forward to the next one. Thank
Me
you so
too.
much.
And thanks everybody for watching. And see you soon. And there's a way. This has changed format now. There's all sorts of different. Oh, there we go. End meeting.
Always
Goodbye.
acknowledging.
Bye. Bye. Bye.